Hello, good evening, my babies, and good evening, my dear parents. Welcome to yet another fun Sunday storytime session with Mindseed Preschool and Daycare. I, Aparna Chaudhary, will be your storyteller for this evening. So, I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. And if you notice outside, it's started to get a little chilly, isn't it? It's a little cold in the mornings and in the evenings. Here where I live in Pune, it's definitely quite chilly and it's a very pleasant climate. So today's story is going to be related to winters, and I'm going to tell you a story about insects. Yes, once again about insects. So somehow last time when I narrated a story, we were talking about insects, and this time too, we have these amazing. Can you imagine? I'm using the word amazing for insects. But yes, we're going to have fun with two lovely insects. This is for two lovely insects today. So, should I tell you the name of the story? Yes. The name of the story is The Grasshopper and the Ant. Now, I'm sure some of my babies must have heard this story before, but it's going to be fun meeting them as well. So, do you want to see how Mr. Grasshopper looks? Ta 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 ta! Say hello to Mr. Grasshopper. And he looks so happy. Mr. Grasshopper, you look really happy to me right now. And I hope you're not feeling very cold because it's quite chilly outside, especially in the evenings and even in the mornings. Oh, Aparna, I am okay actually. Now, can you tell me what is the color of Mr. Grasshopper? Yes? It's green in color, right? And it's found in grass most of the times, and it hops. Yes, Mr. Grasshopper hops a lot, and that's why he's known as Grasshopper. And we have a second character in this story. Let's meet the second character, the second insect. Yes, it's Mr. Ant. So this story is about Mr. Grasshopper and Mr. Ant. Now, it was a lovely December month, and Mr. Ant was busy working. Now, just like mamas and papas are busy working, doing their office work, and then taking care of the house, storing things, if you see, mama and papa will always go to the shop, get groceries, store them in the fridge. Have you seen that? If you haven't, you should. Okay. Now, just like we store our food, Mr. Ant also had a habit of working very hard, and he would store his food, especially during summertime. Now, right from summertime, right from the time of May until November, starting beginning of November, his job, his and his friend's job, was to collect food and store it. That is what he would do. So he would get up in the morning, stretch, do all that he needs to do. I'm sure ants brush their teeth. I'm hoping they do. I don't know if they have teeth, but let's assume they do. So they would get up, he would get up, his friends would get up, his family would get up, and they would brush their teeth and they would get ready. And their job would be to go look for food, collect food, and store it in their houses. Now, why would Mr. Ant do that? Why would they start doing it right from the time of May? So May, June, July, August, September, October, 6 months Mr. Ant and all his friends and family would work very hard, collect all the food and store it in their houses, in the ant hill. That's the name of their house. And Mr. Grasshopper, on the other hand, would always be this fun-loving creature having fun all the time. So he would hop around, not really work very hard, take all the food that he would get and sing all day. He would be like "Toot-toot-toot, and sing all day. Yes, that's what he would do. Not work, sing all day. Now, just like that, it was a lovely morning, a summer morning, and Mr. Ant was doing his job. He started walking out of his house, to collect some food to store for the winter time. And what was Mr. Grasshopper doing? He was busy singing. He was like toot 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 toot. He was like lying around and jumping and hopping and singing. And he saw Mr. Ant carry this piece of small little sugar, and then he saw him carrying a piece of small bread crumb, and he was taking it on his back. Ants are supposed to be very, very hard working. They work very hard. And he was walking, and he was storing food in his house, then going back again and searching for food. Now Mr. Grasshopper was watching all this while Mr. Ant and his family was doing this. And Mr. Grasshopper was like, he looked at Mr. Ant and he said, "Hello, Mr. Ant. Why are you working so hard? Why don't you just come and sing with me all day? Toot, 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 toot." Mr. Ant was like, "Hey, listen, Mr. Grasshopper. This is summer morning and we have food to eat. But soon it is going to be December time and it's going to be winter and all the food will be over." Now where they lived, it would snow. Now it doesn't snow in India, not at least in the places where we live, but where they lived, it would snow. So because of the winter and because of the white snow, ice all around, there would be no food. Yes, the animals wouldn't get food. So all the animals, all the insects would store food. So what did Mr. Ant do? He did a smart thing, right? He gave him advice that instead of just lying around and having fun and jumping here and there and hopping, Mr. Grasshopper, why don't you also do some work and collect some food like I am collecting for your winter? Mr. Grasshopper was like, "Oh, come on, Mr. Ant. If you want to do this, you can go ahead and do what you're doing. Go, collect your food and I am going to have fun. You ants just work all day and have no fun. It's so sad that you have to do all this all the time. Look at me, I'm having fun." Yeah, Mr. Grasshopper was having fun on a summer day, but he forgot what is going to happen in winter. So days passed by, and like Mr. Ant had said, very soon it was December time, just like it is now. And where they lived, like I said, it started to snow. And it was a white winter. You know what's a white winter? White winter is basically where there's snow all around. And as soon as it started snowing, just like Mr. Ant had told Mr. Grasshopper that there would be no food available, Mr. Grasshopper got out of his house on that December morning. And he was like, now why was he doing that? He was doing that because he was shivering. It was really, really very cold and white and snow all around, and he just couldn't get anything to eat. So he hopped and he hopped and he hopped and he hopped and he hopped. But all the places that he went and searched for, Mr. Grasshopper, did you find any food? No, Aparna. I did not get any food and I'm hungry. See, Mr. Ant had told him, but he did not listen. He was very smart, na? He was telling Mr. Ant, "Arey, you work so hard. Why do you want to work so hard? Who thinks about the future? We'll see what to do. And food will not get over." No, he thought food will not get over. But Ant was very smart. Now what was Mr. Grasshopper going to do? Because he was hungry and there was no food. So Mr. Grasshopper, while he was shivering because it was very, very cold, he went to Mr. Ant's house and he rang the bell of his anthill. Ding dong! Anthill had a doorbell? Okay, I'm sure it did. Ding dong! And here came Mr. Ant. And Mr. Ant was like, "Hello, Mr. Grasshopper. I hope you're doing well. You're shivering. You don't look very good. What happened?" Well, Mr. Ant, like you had said, I went searching for food everywhere. I hopped here and there, and I hopped and I hopped and I hopped, and I even asked Aparna, but I did not find any food because of the winter. You're right, Mr. Ant. Can you help me, please? Can you give me some food? I think he should help, right? What do you think? Do you think Mr. Ant should help Mr. Grasshopper? Despite of Mr. Grasshopper not listening to Mr. Ant? Should he? Yes. Well, you're right. And that's what Mr. Ant did. Mr. Ant was very, very nice. In fact, he knew that his neighbor, and Grasshopper was also his friend, would come in search of food and ask for help. And that's why he had also got some extra for Mr. Grasshopper. So that's what Mr. Ant did. Mr. Ant told Mr. Grasshopper, "Look, Mr. Grasshopper, I have some food. Not that it is going to help you throughout the winter, but it should help you and not keep you hungry and starve you. But remember what I said next time, okay?" And that's what Mr. Ant did. Mr. Ant went to his kitchen, got some food for Mr. Grasshopper, gave it to Mr. Grasshopper, and Mr. Grasshopper really couldn't hop because he was really, really cold and he was hungry. He literally dragged himself out of Mr. Ant's house and went to his place. He ate his food, and on that day, Mr. Grasshopper realized that yes, it's always nice to have loads and loads of fun, isn't it? Of course, it's nice to have fun, but it's also very important to work. Yes, when someone is telling you that, look, you need to think about the future and store things or take care of things, there's a reason why your friend says it, or your mama says it, or your family says it. So you must at least listen to them and think if they are right. And that's what Mr. Grasshopper did. Mr. Grasshopper then kept that in mind. Soon winter time was over. Soon it was time for a lovely, lovely sun to come out, and it was May time yet again. And not just Mr. Ant, but this time Mr. Grasshopper was also seen jumping and hopping and working and collecting and storing food. Collecting is going and searching for food, getting it and keeping it safely for the winter. So even Mr. Grasshopper had learned his lesson, and he had decided that he is going to be a smart grasshopper. Yes, so not all work and not all play, but hand in hand is what they said. Okay, so in fact, Mr. Ant and Mr. Grasshopper, they both did a little bit of singing together. That's what they did. And they also worked together. They collected food together, and they also had some awesome dinner time together. So this was the story of Mr. Grasshopper and Mr. Ant. And I hope you enjoyed the story and you also understood what did Mr. Grasshopper learn. Okay? So yes, this was the amazing story about Mr. Grasshopper and Mr. Ant. We're going to see you very, very soon. Till then, stay safe and don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, which is Mindseed Preschool, and also like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. So see you very soon. Until then, hasta la vista. Bye bye.